So, let us discuss about the various signals which are associated with microprocessor 8085. The advantage of knowing these signals is that if you go for 8086 or any higher versions of microprocessors, you will get the same type of signals. So, once you know the signals associated with the 8085, you can also accordingly know the signals which are associated with 8086, 286, 386 Pentium, right, and other series of microprocessors made by different other companies, right. So, only difference will be that there will be a slight change in the syntax. For example, I am writing here read bar, they may write READ like this. So, slightly the convention will be changed, but the functions remain same, right. Therefore, only you have to understand what are the signals required for 8085 microprocessor, and you need not know the exact pin number, because each there are, you can see there are total 40 signals. So, 40 pins are associated, in the left side 20 pins, in the right side 20 pins. But we are not more concerned about the pins, rather we are concerned about the types of signals which are associated in 8085. And from this diagram you can easily observe some of the signals are output signals and some of the signals are input, and they are also equally justified. You can see that some of the signals are input which are going into the microprocessor 8085, and some of the signals are coming out from the microprocessor 8085. And some of the signals also we have discussed. As I told you, there are total 16 address data lines. Out of these 16 address lines, we have divided into two groups. That is, one is lower order byte, this one, another is, so one is the higher order byte and another is the lower order byte. So, the lower order byte, as I told you, it is multiplexed with the data bus. For address we need A0 to A15, 16 address lines, and out of these 16 address lines, A0 to A7 is multiplexed. So, whenever we discuss about the data lines, we write it AD0 to AD7, A for address, D for data. It is very simple. Lower order byte, and higher order byte is exclusively used for the address lines. So, if you go for 8086 microprocessor, so these numbers will only change, but there must be address lines and there must be data lines. These are two basic requirement of any microprocessor. Okay. So, if I say the total number of signals for microprocessor 8085, we can classify into three types. One is the address signal, second is the data signal, and the remaining whatever signal you see in this diagram, they are all control signals. Again, we can further divide the control signals into various types, but in general, as an overview, you will understand every microprocessor signals are divided into three broad categories. One is address signals, second is data signals, and third is the control signals. And address signal for 8085, 16 number of address signals or number of address lines. Every line will carry a signal. Signal means you will understand your 0 or 1, because these are digital signals, not the analog signal. But in the true practical sense, it is an analog signal, but that is digitized. So, everywhere the signal is of this type, a square wave, or sometimes we deal with a rectangular wave, where the are two discrete states, 0 state and a 1 state. Is it okay? So, address signals and the data signals, and everywhere in almost all the microprocessors, data bus is multiplexed with the address bus. Almost in all microprocessors, except few microprocessors, they have exclusive data lines and exclusive address lines, but most of the Intel series of microprocessors, the multiplexing is necessary, because we have to reduce the number of pins for 8085 microprocessor. Unless if you make exclusive lines, how many lines will be, how many pins will be required? 24. Of course, multiplexing and demultiplexing are additional operations, but this can be avoided by this. So, anyway, so since we are multiplexing address with data, there must be a signal which will monitor when to carry address and when to carry data. Therefore, we have this signal ALE. ALE stands for address latch enable. So, whenever this signal is high, you will understand that address bus is carrying address signal and whenever it is 0, it is carrying the data signal. Whenever ALE signal is high, it is carrying address signal, and whenever it is 0, that means the data bus is carrying data signal. This is how we can control the same bus to multiplex address as well as the data. So, ALE is a signal which is completely associated with address and data signals. Then we have read bar, write bar, and you can see there is a IOM bar, IO/M bar. So, as I am putting bar active low signal, whenever this is 1, you will understand is IO operation is to be carried out, and whenever M is 0, sorry, this signal is 0, the memory operation is to be carried out. Very simple. 0 means memory operation, 1 means for IO operation. So, by using these 3 signals, I can get 8 combinations, but I need only 4 combinations for memory read, memory write, IO read and IO write operation. So, 4 signals are I can generate by using a decoder. Just simply you can connect these 3 signals to a decoder and I can get 8 outputs. Out of these 8 outputs, I have to select 1 out of 8 at a time, and one signal must be memory read. Sometimes we also write like this: memory read, memory write, IO read, IO write, and of course another 4 signals can be used for other purpose, but here we need only 4 signals to carry out these 4 operations, right. So, this is basically a 3 to 8 decoder. So, most oftenly we shall use the decoder for decoding the signals, right. Similarly, this S0 and S1, these are the status signals. These are the to monitor what is the status of the flags and what is the status of the different components of microprocessor 8085, we can know from this. Because what is happening inside the microprocessor, how the processing is going on, we cannot know. Only thing is that we have to check the signal, that is the only. But how to check the signal? By using the instruction. So, instructions are the most visible part of the microcomputer. With the help of assembly, I am telling about the assembly language instruction, and if you tell the programming language like C, C++, Java, etc., so they are the very external languages. We cannot know what is happening inside the microprocessor if you write a program in C or C++ or in Java. But in assembly language, you have to monitor each and every signal that are coming to the microprocessor 8085 and which are going out of the microprocessor 8085. Is it okay? So, therefore, assembly language is important for us, and there is another step, a high level language, from where the assembly language programs can be also converted to high level language codes, and high level language codes can be converted to assembly language, and from assembly language you can convert to machine language. So, all these things we shall discuss in another class, but here what is important? We have to control the signal, and the signals can be controlled by instructions. Instructions means assembly language instructions. Okay. Then as I told you, every microprocessor is governed by a clock. The way we are governed by a clock, suppose class is at 1:15, we have to finish at 2:15. So, I am seeing my watch when 2:15 will be there, right. So, in the same way, every activity, every microsecond can be monitored by the microprocessor 8085. However, the higher versions of microprocessors, advanced microprocessor, they can monitor the activity in nanosecond also, and people are also claiming that in future the biological microprocessors will come where you can still monitor the activity in picoseconds. Now, we are in the gigahertz speed, therefore, we are able to monitor in nanosecond. But another 2-3 years, the way the research is going on, you can feel also how the picosecond activities can be also controlled or can be monitored. Okay. But anyway, our limitation as far as 8085, 8086 is concerned, we will be able to observe in terms of microsecond, not in terms of nanosecond. But if you see the Pentium microprocessor, which is, as I told you, the frequency is 3 gigahertz and its time period is 0.3 nanosecond, and in nanosecond also you can monitor, right. So, anyway, so therefore, a clock pulse which is the master, which you call the master clock, which will be coming from the 8085, and that is of course, as I told you, 5 megahertz. Initially, it will be generated with the 10 gigahertz, sorry, 10 megahertz with the help of this oscillator. So, this part of the microprocessor is an oscillator which will be generating the clock signals, and that clock signals will be connected to various peripherals. As I told you, including your keyboard, mouse, whatever input and output devices can be connected. The chips which are associated with 8085 or which are working in parallel with 8085, they are also treated as the peripheral devices or IO devices, and they need a special designation. At the same time, they need a clock, and which may not be same as the clock speed of 8085. They may be operating with a different clock, and that different clock can be generated with the help of another chip, that is called 8284 clock generator, which will take this clock output clock output from 8085 as input to it. Then it will generate another 3 types of clock pulses which will be connected throughout the microprocessor board, and we usually call it is motherboard. So, motherboard will understand that microprocessor along with all peripheral ICs, that is called a motherboard, and including memory also. Memory can be present in the motherboard. Am I clear? So, therefore, clock is a very important again signal which is highly needed to monitor or to coordinate the activities of the microprocessor. Then this data bus and address bus, they are used for parallel communication, because at a time 8-bit data can be exchanged with the memory or input output devices, and address signal at a time 16 bits can be generated by the microprocessor, and we can identify a particular location 1 out of 64 kilobytes of location. This is possible because of the address and data signals. But whenever you want to send the data from one unit to another unit via microprocessor, you can make use of this SID and SOD. What is SID? Serial input data, where the data from the source device can be sent to microprocessor, and microprocessor can buffer either in a register which is available to the programmer, or it can store data temporarily, and this data will be again further transferred to the destination device. Am I clear? So, whatever operation is going on, everything should be routed through the microprocessor in any microcomputer, and there are some operations can be possible by which you can bypass the microprocessor, but that we shall discuss afterwards again. There are some specific operations which can bypass the microprocessor, and directly the transfer can be possible. So, anyway, so serial input data means the data from the source to microprocessor, and via microprocessor it will go to the destination device. Similarly, SOD will be used, the data which is coming from source in the opposite side, and it will come to microprocessor, and through serial output data it will go to the destination. So, SID you can see the arrow mark is given inward, and for SOD the arrow mark is given outward. Is it okay? So, there are group of signals which are used for interrupts. This is also equally important. So, whenever microprocessor is performing some operation, or for example, it is executing a program, but it may so happen and a higher priority job is to be performed. For example, whenever microprocessor is working or executing a program, during that power supply goes on. So, what will happen? You have to connect to an UPS system. So, that is the urgent, because if the power is not there, nothing can be done. Therefore, a interrupt which we generally call trap. So, the UPS can be connected to trap. The moment power goes off, automatically this line will be high, and the switching time is so less, even you cannot notice that the power has gone off. Am I clear? So, trap is the highest priority interrupt in any of the microprocessor, only the name is changed. Here for microprocessor 8085 we call it trap. If you go for 8086, it is called NMI, non-maskable interrupt. It cannot be masked, it cannot be ignored. Am I clear? Just like in hospitals, emergency ward. So, whenever an emergency patient comes, this is given highest priority. In the same way, once the power goes back or power goes, the trap line should be on or it should be enabled. Okay. Similarly, we have another type of interrupt called RST 7.5 and RST 6.5, 5.5, and the way it is written or given in the diagram, in the same way the priorities are assigned. So, you will understand that trap is having the highest priority, then 7.5, then 6.5, then 5.5. But they are maskable. Maskable in the sense they can be changed, the priority can be changed. But how to change it? Again with the help of instructions. Anything we are doing on the microprocessor 8085 or any microprocessor is possible only by using the instructions. Or instructions set architecture, we shall cover after this. Then whenever any interrupt comes to the microprocessor, this signal should be high, INTR should be high. Assume that whenever INTR is 0, there is no interrupt coming to the microprocessor 8085. And if this interrupt is to be serviced or is to be accepted by the microprocessor after resolution, then one interrupt acknowledgement signal will be sent, and this is just like your registered post letter with acknowledgement. If you are sending a letter, so if the acknowledgement has reached, you will understand that your letter has reached to the destination. In the same way, if the interrupt is accepted, because except trap all are maskable, it may be accepted or may not be accepted. If it is accepted, then interrupt acknowledgement signal will go to the device which is interrupting, and accordingly this signal will be serviced. Again, we will more discuss about the interrupts and which is the chip which will take care of handling these interrupts. The chip number 8259, and it is popularly known as programmable interrupt controller. The way I told you, 8284 is the clock generator responsible for generating different clock signals. In the same way, 8259 is a programmable chip, that is called programmable interrupt controller, and which will take care of all the types of interrupts. And how it is taken care of, how the interrupts are monitored and coordinated, that things we shall discuss afterwards whenever we go to the interrupt chapter or interrupt section, right. Then as I told you again that 8085 microprocessor is the fastest device in the microcomputer system or anywhere you are using the microprocessor as a device. It is the fastest component, but all other components like memory, IOs, they are the slower as compared to microprocessor. For example, microprocessor is faster, it can send 5 bits per second. Its data rate is 5 bits per second. It is capable of sending 5 bits per second. But a memory system which is capable of receiving only 2 bits per second. That means in 1 second, microprocessor 8085 sending 5 bits, but in the same second, memory is capable of receiving only 2 bits. So, what is the situation? Suppose you can take 1 meals in your lunch, but if you are given 2 meals, can you take it? Same thing happens here also. So, it is sending 5 bits per second, but memory is receiving only 2 bits, 3 bits is lost on the way. So, how to enable the memory system to receive exactly 5 bits? What to do? What is the mechanism you should follow? In general case, what will happen? If you are given 2 meals for your lunch and you are capable of eating only 1 lunch, what will do? You can keep 1 for dinner or you can give somebody, right. So, similarly, here what happens, after sending 1 bit, microprocessor will wait for the memory whether it has received or not. If it is received, then only it is send the second bit. So, there must be a synchronization, and this synchronization is possible whenever memory system is ready to accept your data. But how to know the memory system is ready? By using the ready signal. Am I clear? So, ready signal is a signal which will synchronize the faster device with respect to slower devices, and slower devices maybe it is memory or it may be IO, because as I told you, only 2-3 components are lying in a microcomputer system. One is microprocessor, that is you call CPU, second is memory, and third is the IO devices. IO devices are slower than the memory, and memory is slower than the microprocessor, or in other words, microprocessor is faster than memory and memory is faster than the IO. And as far as 8085 is concerned, microprocessor 8085 operates in microsecond, memory operates in millisecond, and IO devices operates in second. Is it okay? So, this ready signal I think understood. So, in general I can say that whenever this ready signal is high, it will make the slower device to wait. Sorry, it will whenever it is not ready, the slower device is not able to send the data to microprocessor, right. And the moment the slower device is ready, it will input this signal to the microprocessor, okay, I am ready, you can send the data now. Am I clear? Whether it is you are inputting the data or outputting the data, this signal will synchronize the faster device with the slower devices. Okay. So, another two important signals which we call the hold and hold acknowledgement, and these are mainly used for the DMA controller, direct memory access controller. You might have studied in computer organization and architecture, but there you have studied in general. But here you have to understand that which chip is responsible for DMA controller. So, the chip which is performing the DMA operation as far as 8085 base system design is concerned is either 8237 or 8257. Two versions are available. 8237 is the DMA controller, 8257 is the DMA controller, and this will take care of how to access the data between memory and I/O devices directly by bypassing the microprocessor 8085. That means, if the microprocessor is executing something, at the same time the DMA controller can take the control of the data and address bus to transfer few data from I/O to memory, and this thing can be parallel. And why we are doing parallel? To save the time, but it is an optional. If you are not using DMA, nothing hard, everything has to be done by the microprocessor. Except microprocessor and clock generator, I think most of the chips are optional, because if you do not need more interrupts, there is no need of 8259. But you are using, if you are using 8259, we can go up to 256 interrupts, and how 256 interrupts devices can be connected to microprocessor with the help of 8259, we shall see that time. But these are the chips are supposed to be followed or to be interfaced, and everything will be under the control of instructions. There are some general set of instructions that we shall discuss in the class, and there are some special purpose instructions which are focusing to each of these ICs, as I told you. For 8259, we have some instructions associated with that, right. So, one I told 8284 clock generator that we have to cover, and another is 8259 programmable interrupt controller, which will take care of all kinds of interrupts and interrupt service routine, and what is ISR and what is interrupt, that we shall discuss whenever we go to the interrupt section. And again, whenever we will discuss about the DMA controller, direct memory access control, where you can bypass the microprocessor to allow the data transfer between memory and I/O devices directly or parallelly. So, that is possible with the help of 8237 or 8257. Now, one question comes, how 8237 is different from 8257? It is also very difficult to get. You can see that whatever the signals available in 8237 are also available in 8257, then what is the difference? But still, since they are both are the different names, so there is a difference, right. So, like this sometimes you will have a confusion that how two different chips by the same manufacturer are fulfilling the purpose of one thing, right. So, all these things we will discuss. So, this is about all the signals, and only signal is remaining in our discussion, that is reset in and reset out. So, you may be thinking why these two signals are there. So, before discussing these two signals, one point is that whenever the personal computer came to the market, and what is the first microprocessor for computer? Sorry, 8088 microprocessor, right. So, in this microprocessor, what happens? The entire memory system, as I told you, is divided into two parts. One part is storing the system routines, another part is storing the user programs. So, what are those system routines? The entire memory system till today also, the for any microcomputer are divided into two parts, and almost 1/4 is allocated for the system routines, and 3/4 is available to the user or the programmer who will write the program and store in the memory. So, what are those system routines? Of course, you have to exclude the operating system. Though operating system is a system routine, but that is a exclusive subject, and that is a essential part of the microcomputer system if you are doing any high level language programming, and to make the users more flexible, we are using an operating system. Even without using the operating system, it is also possible to program the microprocessor, and you can use it in various applications. Operating system is used only for convenience of the user or the programmer, right. And of course, the resource utilization, the way different resources are there in a microprocessor can be utilized in a better way. Otherwise, there is even whenever microprocessor 805 is used, that time operating system concept was not there, and it could not be installed in microprocessor 805. So, apart from operating system routines, what other routines are serving as the part of the system routines, or we can say also system software. Can anybody tell what may be the system routines? Any idea? Okay. So, number 1, post. Post stands for power on self test. Number 2, BIOS, basic input output system. What is the third one? This is again optional. Sometimes the BIOS and operating system both are connected, or we can have an intermediate routine which will connect the BIOS with the operating system. There are two ways, and nowadays almost operating system is taking care of everything, and that operating system is occupying 1/4 of the space, right. So, what is power on self test? See, if any of the component is not working in a microcomputer, then the computer is not usable. And who is going to check? Everything is done internally. Therefore, a specific routine is designed by the manufacturer and stored in a ROM, read only memory, because it should not be modified by anybody else. Otherwise, what will happen? If it is malfunction or corrupted, then the entire microcomputer system will not working. Therefore, this power on self test routine is a small program, usually written in assembly language, but there is no hard and fast rule that always it will be written in assembly language. It can be also written in high level languages, right. So, this power on self test usually is assembly language program whose task is to interrogate each and every component in a microcomputer system, and the moment it finds an error, for example, keyboard is not working, you can see there will be a display in the CRT that in a particular code that you can get from the manual. The keyboard is not working, the code can be 0x001. So, likewise, a code will be displayed on the screen. From that, the service engineer will identify that which keyboard is which component is not working. So, power on self test is simple routine whose task is to check each and every component of the microcomputer system, and if it is if all the components are fine working, then it will allow the operating it will initiate the execution of the BIOS, basic input output system, and it is the task of BIOS to initiate the execution of the operating system. It will ask for the operating system, and if the operating system is available, it will start executing the operating system, and if it is not available, again another error message will come on the screen. Am I clear? So, this post and BIOS, they are usually stored in the ROM, read only memories, because it should not be modifiable. Otherwise, there will be problem in operating the microcomputer system, right. So, this power and self test routine and BIOS are the part of the system routine. So, which will occupy, as I told you, less than, of course, less than 1/4, because operating system space is also there. So, this will be initially executed on a microcomputer system, right. So, in order to execute any program in a microcomputer system, what you have to do? Suppose I have written a program, I want to execute on a microprocessor. So, I have to store in a memory location, and in practical class you might have observed, you are writing go to that location and press execute key. That means, you are acting as a operating system. So, this go memory location address, then execute. These 3 steps you are following, right. So, whenever this post will be executed, and it is usually stored in the memory location 0000H, that is the starting address, right. So, whenever you switch on the computer system, your post routine should be executed first, and to begin execution, the program counter register, which is 16-bit register, will hold the address of the starting and instruction for the program you want to execute. Is it okay? So, program counter is a 16-bit register which will hold the address of the first instruction to start execution, right. But here the address is stored in the first location, that is 0th location, and PC must be loaded. So, as soon as you press the reset button of a computer system, this signal will be activated, resetting. Am I clear? The moment you press the key in the computer system, this signal will go to the microprocessor. So, its task is to reset the value of a PC. Reset of value of PC means all PC values will be zeros. That means the execution will begin from the 0th location. Am I clear? Right? So, whenever the execution begins from the 0th location where the post is stored, right. So, during that period, the reset out signal, you can say it is an output signal that is connected to each and every other component in a microcomputer. This is connected to memory, this is connected to I/O devices, this is also connected to every chip which is available in the motherboard or in the PC printed circuit board. Am I clear? So, that means if you are resetting microprocessor 8085, at the same time you are resetting the every devices. Every device will come to the initial state from where the execution will begin. And now it is once the post routine is executed, it will check each and every component, whether keyboard is working fine or CRT is working fine, or any chip is erroneous, if memory chip is not operating. Am I clear? So, all these are possible with the help of these two signals, one is reset in, another is reset out. So, can I say that reset in is an input signal to the microprocessor. Whenever it is activated, either you press a switch or you press alter delete control, same thing happens, but ultimately it is connected to reset in. So, there are two ways to reset the system. One is that you can press the switch or you can press alter delete control. In a microcomputer system I am telling, but here it is easy because you are the operating system, you are the programmer, therefore, easily you can load the program counter content by 000 with the help of course instruction. Instructions are there where you can manipulate the value of program counter. Is it okay? So, this reset in signal will reset the microprocessor 8085, and this reset out signal will reset all the peripheral devices which are connected to microprocessor 8085. I think understood the importance of these two signals, reset in and reset out, right. Now, in order to carry out any operation on a microprocessor, we should be ready with the instruction set, and once you know the instruction set and once you execute it, the requisite signals will be activated or deactivated depending upon the operations. Is it okay? Now, we have to deal each and every instruction, and which instruction is associated with which signal, that should be also clearly understood. Am I clear? So, whether you want to execute a program from a location, so program counter must be loaded with that location, but how to load it? What is the corresponding instruction for loading a memory address of the memory into a program counter? Is it okay? So, this is what the different types of signals. This is just an overview, so that you are acquainted with all types of signals for 8085. And once you know the signals of and their functions of 8085, similarly you can easily know about 8086. I do not have to explain so much about all these signals. The only is slightly the syntax will vary. Suppose here we are telling reset in, there will tell RES, only syntax, only just the letters will vary, otherwise the function remains same. So, that means what is important here? So, only part which is programmer can deal or visible to the programmer is the instruction set architecture, ISA. If the ISA is powerful of any microprocessor, that means you will understand that microprocessor is powerful. If your ISA design is very not efficient, then that microprocessor is not efficient. But how to make instruction set architecture efficient? What are the main characteristics or attributes responsible for making the ISA efficient? Number one attribute is instruction set. So, your instruction set should be rich. If you are available with more instructions, you will be more flexible and there are more ways of writing the programs. See, the way Photon can do, C cannot do. The way C++ can be used, the same way C cannot be used. Why? We call C++ an object-oriented language and C is a basic language, because there are some additional features in C++ which makes the program more flexible to write the programs. For example, I am writing I is equal to I plus 1, I plus plus, which is better, I plus plus. So, likewise you will see how the instruction sets are flexible, and since I told you this is the first microprocessor came to the market which was used in various industrial application, its instruction set is not efficient because of the limited number of instructions. But in one way it is also good that it is easy to understand. At least this is the only microprocessor where exhaustively each and every instructions we can cover and deal, because only 76 instructions are there and hardly within 1 or 2 classes we can finish up all 76 instructions. But if you go for 8086, you will see how complexity will follow in following all the instructions. Anyway, so instruction set is one attribute. What is the second attribute? Addressing modes. If your instruction set architecture supports more number of addressing modes, you can have more number of instructions. So, addressing mode is important. And in computer organization, how many types of addressing modes you have studied? Usually 3, and fortunately the same 3 are also available in 8085. But we shall see in 8086 more than 10 addressing modes are available. And if you go for Pentium series of processors, more than hundreds of addressing modes are possible. In that way, the instruction set is becoming complex. Third is instruction format. What is format? Whenever you write the instruction, for example, I am writing add A, B, C. I am just telling in general, not from with respect to 8085. For 8085, we cannot change, it is fixed. So, can I write add A, B, C, where A content and B content will be added together and the result will be stored in C. I can design a computer system with this instruction format. But what is the advantage of this format and what is the disadvantage of this format? One advantage is that in one instruction, you are clearly specifying source, destination and the entire operation completed in one instruction. But at the same time, what is the disadvantage? The instruction length will increase. So, the space required for the program may be higher and the memory space required to store this instruction may be higher. So, these trade-off issues we are supposed to discuss and we should come up with an efficient design. But for 8085 we cannot change. So, wherever some limitations are there, that you have to identify. Right. So, what 8085 suggests? You have to write add B so that the instruction length will be less and A will be implicit. And this part is called opcode, operation to be performed, and this is called operand, the data to be operated. And we shall see that 8085 never allows beyond 2 operands, maximum at a time. Even if you have to add a very big summation, for example, I will tell you to write S equal to A plus B plus C plus D. So, how many instructions will be required? 4 at least, because everything you have to store in the register, they are the variables, you have to assign the registers. Okay, anyway, that we shall see afterwards, but instruction format plays a very important role. Okay, so next is symbols and abbreviations. Is it important? Symbols and abbreviations? As I told you, it is very difficult to write the program in machine language, zeros and ones. So, you have to use the mnemonics, and if your mnemonics are not proper, even if you yourself will see the program, you cannot understand. Therefore, whenever we are using add, we should use add, and if you are adding an immediate data, you can use ADI, I stands for immediate. And how 8085 is using different symbols or characters to represent the data or operand, that we shall see. Then what is the fifth point? Instruction timing diagram, because every instruction how much time is taking for execution, that we are supposed to deal. So, under the instruction diagram, timing diagram, we will be dealing with instruction cycle. Second is how many machine cycles and clock cycle, or sometimes for simplicity we call it T state, right. So, what is instruction cycle? The total time required to execute the instruction is called instruction cycle, and that instruction cycle is divided into one or more machine cycles, and each machine cycle is divided into one or more clock periods, or in general whenever you add the number of clock periods to execute an instruction, that will give you the instruction cycle time. Is it okay? And this, as I told you, this will follow a specific pattern, and sometimes this pattern will be may not be followed, that we shall see how it varies from instruction to instruction. Then the sixth point is very less important, that is how to represent the instructions, whether you will represent through hex or binary or high level language alphabets like your English or Hindi or all these things. So, from next class we will start, each of these we will be discussing. Okay, one thing also I left in the instruction set, you can write types of instructions. Yes, under the instruction set you can write one more point, types of instructions like arithmetic group, logical group, data transfer group. We can classify the different types of instructions supported by the instruction set. Then all types of addressing modes, instruction format, and if everything is clear to you, then we can directly write a program using assembly language 8085.